Hello and welcome back to Reading Between the Lines. After a stellar international tournament, I have caught the bug for women's football. And Matt, who I'm with, has been following the Reading women's team and the WSL for a little while now already. You'll have to tell me how many years in a bit. So I thought it would be a great opportunity to give myself and anybody else that's listening really a bit of a head start, a bit of a cheat sheet into the Reading women's team and maybe a little bit on the WSL as well, just so that I can start the season up and running and I can have a little bit more context into what happened last year, expectations for this year a little bit, and yeah, basically just crack on into the season. Matt, we will be mainly focusing on Reading, but we can't get into that without talking about the Euros. Do you want to talk us through your thoughts on it and maybe, your favorite moment from the summer tournament?
Yeah, well, I mean, it was fun, wasn't it? Favorite moment, I mean, there is no other moment than Chloe Kelly scoring a 100 and whatever minute winner in the final, is there?
Yeah, bit special.
Just an absolutely just a brilliant moment. So like I went to the England women's game. It must have been 7 or 8 years ago now when they first played at Wembley against Germany as well, and they got turned over like 3-0 in that game. I think it was the first time they'd ever played at Wembley. Tickets were like 10 quid, and it ended up being quite a big deal. Like they sold more tickets than the men had sold for some friendly that month or the month before, right. And it got capped because there were tube works or something, and it was meant to be this big deal, and they end up getting turned over by Germany. But then here we are, kind of all these years later, playing Germany in the final of the Euros at Wembley, and Chloe Kelly goes and scores that. Well, it's not really an amazing goal, is it? But it's an amazing goal in the context.
Any winner in a final is an amazing goal, right?
Exactly, and the celebration just matches it. So celebrated better than Bobby Zamora, by the way, Chloe. So yeah, I mean, it just felt like such a culmination of like years and years of work, which obviously everyone has said already, but it's just a great moment. And I mean, the tournament as a whole, I think,
brilliant.
Okay, this is going to be a slight tangent. Luton played Scunthorpe in a Johnson's Paint Trophy final one year. And I read the report on the BBC after, and it was like, this wasn't just a good game for the lower leagues, because that would be underselling it. Like, this was a good game for football. And I feel the same about this Euros tournament. It feels underplaying it to say that this was a fun tournament in the context of women's football. It was just a fun tournament the whole time. Like, we didn't really see too many mismatches, and like, ironically, the one that we did see, England versus Norway, and France versus whoever it was, like, that should have been a much closer match. That was completely unrepresentative of where those two countries are. Well, not like, England are a good team, but Norway are also a better team than they showed on that day. So I think it was just some of the goals, some of the scorelines, some of the drama. It was just, it was a great tournament.
It was. I mean, I like a passing centre back, and I was absolutely enthralled by some of the brilliant passing, some of the brilliant bring ball out of defence play from centre backs. There are some stellar players in that tournament, but yeah, no, it was really, really good fun. So we will shift now to talk a little bit about Reading. And I've never watched a game. I've never, I've kept track of results sort of loosely, in that, there's an association with the men's team that I follow. So it's nice when I see them win, but I can't say I particularly ever followed the results, but I'm interested to this season and hopefully get to a few games as well, certainly. So talk to me about the manager. Talk to me about Kelly Chambers. How long has she been there? What sort of manager is she? And what are your thoughts on her?
Okay, well, when you talk about Reading women, you have to talk about Kelly Chambers first. She is the club. Like, there would be no Reading women without Kelly Chambers, and that's not overstating it. She's been at Reading for over half her life now. I think I think she joined in 2006 or something. She started off as a player. She captained the team. she ended up getting quite a serious injury and had to retire. And then she moved into management to begin with when Reading were in the 3rd tier. When Reading moved up, because she got them promoted, they actually brought in Jane Ludlow as manager, who then went on to be Wales manager, and Kelly Chambers kind of moved up to general manager and all these different backroom things. Jane Ludlow, when she went to Wales, Kelly Chambers came back in, got promoted out of WSL 2 with the team, a team that obviously had Fran Kirby in it. Like best Reading women's player ever. Scored like a ridiculous number of goals in that season. Ironically, the first game I went to was in that year. We were playing Aston Villa away. We'd won, I can't remember how many on the trot. I go and we lose 2-1. That's just me. And then, so we get promoted to WSL, and Reading are an established top flight team now. Every year is a bit of a battle. So Kelly Chambers is very good at getting the most out of the team that she's got, because Reading do not have the kind of finances to play with the big 3 or 4 that are developing in the WSL. And as I say, Kelly Chambers is just the club.
Awesome. That's really cool. To talk a little bit more about her setup last season, how the team played. Did Reading have quite a distinctive style? Would fans of other WSL clubs sort of have a similar idea of what a Reading team is like, or is it, is there big differences between when they play teams around them versus teams at the top? Because obviously, like you already touched on, there's a big disparity between the haves and the have-nots in the league.
Yeah, so Reading definitely have their own style. It's get the ball forward as quickly as possible and try and catch teams on the counter, and that works basically with whatever kind of team Reading are playing. When they're playing someone like Chelsea, they got a 1-0 victory over Chelsea in December, first ever time they've beaten them in the WSL. They were ultra defensive. Like, they scored after 3 minutes and they did not come out of a low block for the other 87. They tried that again when we played Chelsea in April, and it worked for 45 minutes, but then Chelsea found ways to score and we lost 5-0, which is the normal scoreline when Reading played Chelsea. The 3 of the last 4 times have ended 5-0 Chelsea. And one of those, Fran Kirby scored 4 goals in. We talk about Fran Kirby a lot in the WSL because she is so good. But even against someone like, your Brightons, your Birminghams, Reading don't really care about having possession of the ball. It's get the ball, break quickly. Players like Deanne Rose, who's come in, she's a Canadian gold medalist at the Olympics. She is very useful in that. Emma Harries, who's an academy graduate, she started playing on the right wing this season more. Last year, she was playing on, 2 years ago, she was playing more as an out-and-out striker, but I don't think she's really quite got to grips with the movement that she needs there. And then the other one is, oh my goodness, I've completely forgotten her name. Natasha Dowie. Sorry, Natasha. She came in and she's very good at holding the ball up and getting the other 2 in play. I think kind of, again, 2 years ago, Reading signed players that they could, but they didn't necessarily fit that style too well. Whereas this year, we started off, or last year, sorry, this is going to get confusing, but last season, they started off terribly, and then they won 7 out of 8, and then they didn't win again after that. So it's very up and down. Sometimes it works better than other times. And because there's such a small squad that Reading have, again, coming back to finances, it can get quite threadbare. So, but the general tactics are win the ball, try and get it forward, play it over the top as quickly as possible, or, just there's not much passing between the lines. It is kind of boot it. and it works. Like,
it works.
Like, let's be real.
Sometimes, right?
Yeah, every season for Reading, staying in the league is first and foremost. Like, I know that Kelly Chambers and the other players at Reading will have aspirations beyond that. Yeah. But at the end of the day, like, you look at the other names in that league, Reading do not belong in it.
Sure.
So staying in the league is first and foremost. And then if this works, it works.
So you touched on a couple of players there. I don't know if you've already named your favorite, but do you want to talk us through, or maybe not just your favorite, talk us through some of the names that I should look out for this season, players that you like, players that are interesting or have interesting stories.
Oh, I mean, there's so many. Grace Maloney in goal. She's been with Reading for ages. In fact, when Shane Long came back, she was posting a photo of her alongside Shane Long, both of them looking much younger than they do now. She's 28, so she's been with Reading for quite a while now. She's just, she's the starting goalkeeper. Reading don't really have another goalkeeper at the minute. They've kind of had backups to Grace Maloney, but nobody's really displaced her since Mary Earps left, which another lioness there. Who else? I mean, you could go through the team as a whole, but like the fullback's quite fun. Like Faye Bryson came in from, I think, Bristol City last year, and Lily Woodham, another player that's kind of come through. They play on the right and left respectively. They take corners. They kind of get forward when needs be. In that Chelsea game that I mentioned where Reading won, they were so good with their pressing. Like they pressed at exactly the right moments every single time. And that's another thing that kind of is a trademark of Reading teams. They love to press. And I know I said that they went into low block versus Chelsea, but they often try and win the ball back higher up the pitch and go forward quickly that way. Sure. So like their pressure numbers are sometimes some of the highest in the league. And the players that they signed last year, someone like Chloe Peplow, Faye Bryson, they all have very high pressing numbers from their times before as well. Justine Van Havermaet is, I don't know if this is true, but she feels like the tallest player in the division. She was in the Belgium team at the Euros, and every single time you watch the lineups, she was head and shoulders above everyone else. And I mean that literally. She is a very tall player. Weirdly, they don't necessarily target her from absolutely every set piece, which I would be doing if it was me, but I guess that might get a bit predictable. There are other good headers of the team and the other good players in the team. Deanne Cooper at the back, who came from Arsenal. She's quite good. She was out. One to look out for this season. Well, I say this season, she's been in the team before, but she just went to have a child. Emma Mitchell, she's just come back from maternity leave. There was again a piece during the Euros about her, and she was talking about how even now there's not necessarily worldwide coverage of of players going off to have children, because it's not like the men's game. It affects a player who's pregnant a lot more than in the men's game. And she was thankfully quite positive about Reading in that regard, and she's come back, so hopefully that's a good sign. And who else? I mentioned Emma Harries already. She's quite a big deal. You will see her alongside Tom McIntyre on virtually every piece of media. Like the media guys seem to love her. She's another homegrown player that's kind of coming good. She's in the England under-21 setup as well. And last one I will mention again is just Deanne Rose, because I
remember you being quite excited last summer when she joined.
Yeah, so she won the Olympic gold. Her penalty in the final is one of the best penalties I've ever seen. It was unreal. And she often gets the ball and she just sets off towards goal. And sometimes she does that kind of Yaku Mete thing of not necessarily passing when she should pass, and she'll go for goal herself. But like Reading need that in a player at the minute. Like there aren't too many other players that can do that. And she really became quite a talisman for the team during that winning run. Like she was at the heart of a lot of the stuff. And maybe that's why things started to go astray, because obviously when it's one player, you can shut them down a bit easier. But yeah, she's a lot of fun. And every time you see her, she's going towards goal. She makes it enjoyable. So I mean, I understand I've named half the team there, but that's what's nice about them. Like,
you want that, right?
Yeah, like almost everyone. Like I haven't even spoken about the fact that Reading have like half the Wales team, less than they used to have. But like Lily Woodham's Welsh, Natasha Harding, who was the captain last year, she's left now, but she's Wales captain as well. Gemma Evans and like Rachel Rowe, who's really good in central midfield. They're all they all play for the Welsh team. So there's this little Welsh contingent, and oftentimes you'll be able to trace like a signing of a player back to like either they've been in the Welsh team or
Right.
like I'm not massively surprised that Deanne Rose played for Canada against Wales before we signed her, that
Right,
kind of stuff. So yeah, there's and obviously with like Jane Ludlow going to Wales, and there's all these little links between
no connections.
Yeah.
Nice.
I think that's everyone.
Pretty much. I think you must have
Yeah.
been near 11 there. So we've talked about favorite Reading players. Now, obviously, over the course of following Reading in the WSL, certainly for a couple of years or for the number of years you must have some favorite players elsewhere in the division. Not necessarily England players, they don't have to be, but I can understand if you're quite hyped on some England players at the moment. Who else in the league do you like?
Yeah, there are so many. Like there are big names. Obviously, like Sam Kerr, she's always fun, and she brings like a star factor. Alex Morgan was in the league last year. Not this year, unfortunately, but she was good fun. Leah Williamson's good to watch. Like Miedemar at Arsenal. I really like watching. And I've lost her name now because this is how much I enjoy watching her. No, Jessie Fleming from Chelsea. She plays as sort of a defensive midfielder, but that's very quick in possession. So she likes to keep tempo quite a lot. She doesn't necessarily start for them all the time. I think probably one of the reasons that I enjoy watching her is because she actually plays against Reading, whereas maybe she doesn't play some of the bigger games.
Right.
But she apparently played 21 times last season, started 11. So, I mean, that doesn't sound much to someone who watches Championship, but there's only 22 games. So that's, she's played in almost every game. I mean, you could rattle off a number of Chelsea players. Obviously, again, Fran Kirby's quite fun because she's like, obviously you've got the Reading link there, but she is also one of the best players in the division. She's won FA Women's Player of the Year. Maybe one day she'll win the Ballon d'Or. I mean, there is a Ballon d'Or winner at Man City in Lucy Bronze. You got someone like,
although she's off, isn't she?
She is off. She's off to Barcelona. Absolutely. Oh, look at you with all your knowledge that I've completely forgotten. Ella Toon's good. It is fun watching Mary Earps, goalkeeper from the Lionesses at ex-Reading, because her facial expressions are just the best. You might not get quite such close-ups in the WSL. But one of the really good things about the WSL is that almost every game is available. So some of them get picked for Sky Sports, but if they don't get picked for Sky Sports, they'll either be on the BBC or they'll be on the FA Player. And the FA Player is completely free to sign up to. And, you can watch everything.
Awesome.
Other players, I mean, Leah Galton, who plays for Manchester United, she always runs Reading absolutely ragged. I could go on all day. Ashley Neville at Tottenham, she again seems to really I think she had 1 goal and 1 assist last year, and they're both against Reading. So, Molly Bartrip at Tottenham as well. She used to play for Reading, and she both is a very good player, but she had quite an inspirational piece in, I think, the Players Tribune about her eating disorder and various bits around playing for England, and then, getting injured and being upset and all of this triggering other things. And that's really worth a read as well, because when someone's put themselves out there like that, it's I mean, nice to read is the wrong thing, but it's what I mean. It's exactly. So nice. I'll stop there, because otherwise I will name the entire division again. So
but that was great. So I got some names to look out for. Not all of them, but a lot of the names you mentioned, I was aware of. I did know, I'd heard of, and I'd heard positive things, but it was cool to hear some names I hadn't heard. So circling back to Reading just before we finish, season starts when? The 11th of September?
Yeah, so annoyingly, there's still a bit of a wait. And one of the things about the WSL is because there's so few games, they only play 22. They're not at home kind of every week, and there's not games on every week. There's more international breaks than there would be in the men's game. I think Reading are at home on the 11th of September. They play Liverpool in the first game of the season, and then they're not at home for like a few weeks after that. So that's the one annoying thing about it. It's very stop-start, but yeah, you still get plenty of games throughout the year.
Yeah, and like you said, easy to follow the team even if you can't get to games, or for the away games as well. And the last thing we'll say, because I just saw it on Twitter earlier, is that it sounds like the season ticket numbers for the team have skyrocketed this summer, which is awesome. I think I saw they're double the number that they were last season, which is obviously exactly what we want to see after such a positive tournament this summer. We want to see that filter through, and that's why we're doing this. That's why I'm keen to follow the team this year. I've been inspired by the tournament, so it's great to see that it's not isolated, and that hopefully we'll see attendances higher again as we move forward. Cool. All right, that was really helpful. I've got my little list of players to watch and things to look out for. So thank you very much for that, Matt. Anything else you want to touch on before we head off?
No, not really. Just say that hopefully we'll do some more WSL videos throughout the year. Obviously, because there's not as many games, they won't probably be as regular as our normal kind of stuff with the men's team. But it'd be good just to keep it going. And I hope to see as many people there on September the 11th.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to make sure that it is a Saturday, because this is the other thing. A lot of times they play on the Sunday.
I think it is a Sunday. The 11th is a Sunday.
Is it? Okay. Can't remember which way around it is, but that's the other thing. Like a lot, like because all of these teams are attached to men's teams, often they play on the Sunday rather than the Saturday, and kickoffs are normally at 2 p.m. So I know that Reading don't have a home game, don't have a game on TV for the first 3 weekends of the season. So they'll be on the FA Player every week. One of those is not actually at Sunday at 2 p.m. It's on Saturday at 12 p.m. When we're away at Manchester United. If you're going up to the Wigan game, it's on the same day. Wigan and Lee are not that far away. So maybe I might try and get to both. I'm not entirely sure.
Nice. Okay.
But yeah, so that's something to bear in mind, that like you can follow both teams really easily. There's highlights on the FA Player. There's obviously Reading Women have a Twitter account. You can follow all of these kind of stuff. And we'll do our own content as well.
Awesome. All right. Well, I look forward to picking this back up with you at some point once the season gets underway.
Yeah, sweet.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone.